If you enjoy stories about justice and family betrayal, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and comment your thoughts below. Your support means the world. I'm 62 years old, and I thought I'd seen every kind of person in my 4 decades of running a construction business. But nothing prepared me for the day I discovered my son-in-law was a con artist who'd been stealing from me for 3 years. His name is Trevor Walsh. 35 years old, charming smile, expensive suits, and a handshake that felt like a promise. He married my daughter Emily 5 years ago, and I welcomed him like my own son. The day I found out started ordinarily enough. I was in my home office reviewing quarterly financials for Patterson Construction, the company I built from nothing starting in 1985. My accountant Janet had flagged some irregularities in our vendor payments. "Robert, these invoices don't match our usual suppliers," she said over the phone, concern edging her voice. "Someone's been approving payments to companies I've never heard of." My stomach tightened. "How much are we talking about?" "So far, I've found about $40,000 in the last 6 months alone. But, Robert, these go back further. Much further." I asked her to send everything immediately. As the files arrived, I noticed one name kept appearing on approval signatures. Trevor Walsh, VP of Operations. I'd given Trevor that position 3 years ago. Emily had been so proud. "Daddy, thank you for giving Trevor a chance," she'd said, hugging me tight. "He's going to make you proud." Trevor had seemed eager to learn the business. He'd worked in sales before, or so he claimed. I took him under my wing, taught him about construction management, introduced him to our suppliers and contractors. He was smooth. Too smooth, I realize now. Always had explanations ready. Always knew the right thing to say. I'd mistaken his slickness for competence. I started going through the flagged invoices one by one. Companies with names like Premier Building Solutions and Apex Supply Group. I'd never heard of them. I called our actual suppliers. "Mr. Patterson, we've never heard of Premier Building Solutions." My lumber supplier confirmed. "That's not us." One by one, the invoices revealed themselves as fake. Trevor had created shell companies, submitted false invoices, and approved the payments himself. The money went into accounts he controlled. My hands shook as I calculated the total. It wasn't $40,000. It was closer to $300,000 over 3 years. My own son-in-law had been systematically robbing me blind. I sat in my office until midnight, frozen with disbelief. How could I tell Emily? She adored Trevor. They had a 3-year-old daughter, my granddaughter Sophie. This would destroy her. But I couldn't ignore theft. This wasn't just about money. It was about betrayal. About a man I trusted with my business and my daughter. I called my lawyer first thing Tuesday morning. Marcus Chin had handled my business legal matters for 20 years. I trusted him completely. "Robert, this is serious," Marcus said after I explained everything. "We're talking about felony fraud and embezzlement. You need to involve the police." "Not yet," I said. "I need more proof. And I need to figure out how to tell Emily." "Don't tell anyone yet," Marcus advised. "Not until we've documented everything. If Trevor suspects he could destroy evidence or disappear." Over the next week, Marcus and I quietly investigated. We hired a forensic accountant who uncovered even more. Trevor had been stealing since month 1 of his employment. The total was actually $475,000. I felt sick. How had I missed this? How had Janet missed it? Trevor had been clever, keeping individual payments small enough to slip past casual review. The forensic accountant, Donald, found Trevor's methods impressive in their deception. He knew exactly how much he could take without triggering automatic audits, Donald explained. He varied the amounts, used different fake company names, and spaced out the payments. So this was premeditated. I said, "Anger building." "Absolutely. This is an amateur hour. Your son-in-law is a professional con artist." That phrase hit me hard. Professional con artist. Had he targeted Emily specifically to get close to me? To my company? I decided to do some digging into Trevor's background. I hired a private investigator named Sarah Mills. Find out everything about Trevor Walsh. I told her where he came from, what he did before Emily, everything. Sarah called me 4 days later. Mr. Patterson, you need to sit down for this. Trevor Walsh wasn't even his real name. He was born Trevor Hoffman. He'd changed his name legally 7 years ago after being involved in, but never charged with, a real estate fraud scheme in Nevada. 2 investors had lost money, but Trevor had slipped away before prosecutors could build a case. He's done this before, Sarah said. He finds successful older men with daughters, gets close to the family, gains trust, then bleeds them dry. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Emily wasn't his first target. She was just his latest mark. There's more, Sarah continued. He's been having an affair with a woman named Vanessa Clark. She works at a bar downtown. They've been together for at least 2 years. 2 years, while my daughter was pregnant with Sophie. While Emily was home being a mother, Trevor was stealing my money and cheating on my daughter. The rage that filled me was unlike anything I'd ever felt. I wanted to drive to his office and throw him through a window. But Marcus's voice echoed in my head. Don't let him know you know. So I played dumb. At Sunday dinner that week, I smiled at Trevor across my dining room table. How's work going, son? Great, Robert. Trevor said smoothly, cutting his steak. We're closing a big deal next week. Should bring in solid revenue. He lied so easily, so naturally. Emily looked at him with complete adoration. No idea the man beside her was a fraud. After dinner, Trevor cornered me. Robert, I was hoping to discuss a raise. I've been bringing a lot to the company. The audacity nearly made me explode. Instead, I smiled. Let's talk next week. I want to review the numbers first. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Emily's face when she'd find out, about Sophie losing her father, about the destruction heading toward my family. My wife, Margaret, had passed away 6 years ago. Cancer. Emily was my only child, and Sophie was my only grandchild. They were everything to me, and Trevor had weaponized my love for them. I made a decision. I wouldn't just expose Trevor. I'd make sure he paid for every bit of pain he was about to cause. I'd make him regret ever hearing the name Patterson. Monday morning, I met with Marcus and Sarah. I want to set a trap, I told them. Something that gets us irrefutable proof and gets him arrested on the spot. Marcus leaned back. What did you have in mind? Trevor thinks he's been getting away with this. Let's give him a big score. Something too good to resist. When he takes it, we'll have him on camera with witnesses, with everything we need. Sarah smiled slightly. A sting operation. Exactly. Can we do it legally? Marcus thought for a moment. If we coordinate with the police, yes. Let me make some calls. Over the next 2 days, we planned everything. Detective Raymond Hughes from the Financial Crimes Unit was very interested in Trevor's case. We've been looking for this guy, he admitted. We suspected Trevor Hoffman had resurfaced, but we couldn't find him. Detective Hughes was a no-nonsense cop in his late 40s. He'd been tracking con artists for 15 years. Your son-in-law fits a pattern, he explained. These guys are parasites. They attach to successful families, drain them, then move on to the next victim. How do we catch him? I asked. We set up a scenario where he thinks he can steal a large amount all at once. Something believable. When he takes the bait, we document everything, then arrest him. We crafted the perfect trap. I would tell Trevor that Patterson Construction just won a huge municipal contract worth $2 million. I'd explain that we needed to pay several new subcontractors quickly to secure equipment and materials. I'd give Trevor authorization to process these payments. Of course, the subcontractors would be undercover accounts monitored by police. When Trevor diverted the money to his own accounts instead, we'd have him. The key, Detective Hughes said, is making it urgent. He needs to feel pressured to act quickly without thinking too carefully. I called Trevor into my office Thursday morning. Close the door, son. I need to talk to you about something confidential. Trevor's eyes lit up with greed disguised as interest. Of course, Robert. What's going on? I told him about the contract. A fabricated municipal project to renovate 3 schools. It's huge, Trevor. $2.3 million. But we need to move fast. The city wants to start in 3 weeks. That's incredible, Trevor said, playing an excited employee perfectly. What do you need from me? I need you to process payments to these new subcontractors, I said, sliding a list across my desk. It's $800,000 total. The city is advancing us the money tomorrow, but we need to lock in these suppliers immediately or we'll lose them to competitors. Trevor's face was a mask of professional concern. That's a lot of money moving quickly. Are you sure about these contractors? I vetted them personally. I lied, but I need someone I trust handling this. Can I count on you? Trevor stood up, chest puffed with false pride. Absolutely, Robert. I won't let you down. I shook his hand, resisting the urge to break his fingers. I know you won't, son. As soon as Trevor left, Detective Hughes emerged from the adjacent conference room where he'd been listening. He's going to take it, the detective said confidently. I could smell his greed from here. Friday morning, the city payment hit our business account. $800,000 wired from a police-controlled account that looked exactly like a municipal fund. I called Trevor. The money's in. I need you to process those subcontractor payments today. Can you handle it? Consider it done, Trevor said. I'll take care of it personally. Detective Hughes had officers stationed at several banks. We had surveillance on Trevor's movements. Forensic accountants were monitoring every transaction in real time. At 11:47 a.m., Trevor initiated the first transfer, $50,000 to Blue Ridge Equipment Supply, one of his fake companies. At 12:15 p.m., another $60,000 to Capital Construction Materials. He was taking the bait, but he was being careful, processing the payments slowly throughout the day to avoid suspicion. By 4 p.m., Trevor had diverted $540,000 to his shell accounts. We watched it all happen in real time from a conference room downtown, Detective Hughes and his team tracking every keystroke. We've got him, Detective Hughes said quietly. We got more than enough. Wait, I said. Let him finish. Let him think he got away with all of it. At 5:30 p.m., Trevor processed the final payments. $800,000 successfully stolen, or so he thought. Every penny had actually gone into police-controlled accounts that looked like his shell companies but weren't. Trevor left the office at 6 p.m., whistling. I watched him walk to his BMW, completely confident. He thought he'd just pulled off the score of his lifetime. Now, Detective Hughes asked. Now, I confirmed. What Trevor didn't know was that police had been tracking more than just today's theft. While he'd been stealing, we'd been building a complete case. Every previous theft documented. His real identity confirmed. His Nevada fraud connections exposed. Even his affair with Vanessa was documented. Relevant because he'd been spending my stolen money on her. Detective Hughes made a call. Move in. Trevor was 3 blocks from the office when police cars surrounded him. I watched via dashcam feed as officers pulled him from his car. Confusion, and then terror crossing his face as they read him his rights. Trevor Hoffman, you're under arrest for wire fraud, embezzlement, identity fraud, and theft. You have the right to remain silent. Trevor's voice was panicked on the audio feed. I'm Trevor Walsh. This is a mistake. Call Robert Patterson. I work for him. Detective Hughes turned to me. Want to go down there? Not yet, I said. Let him sweat an interrogation first. They took Trevor to the station, put him in a cold room with a metal table, made him wait for 2 hours before Detective Hughes walked in with a folder 6 inches thick. I watched from behind one-way glass as the detective laid out everything. The fake invoices, the shell companies, the stolen $475,000, plus the $800,000 from today, the identity fraud, the Nevada case, the affair. Trevor's face went from confused to pale to terrified as he realized how thoroughly caught he was. I want my lawyer, he finally stammered. Smart, Detective Hughes said. You're going to need one. Then the detective added, almost casually, oh, and Robert Patterson is watching from the next room. He knows everything. Thought you'd want to know. Trevor's head snapped toward the mirror. Even though he couldn't see me, I saw him. Saw the man who betrayed my family realize his con was finished. I stepped into the room. Trevor stood up, hand shaking. Robert, I can explain. Sit down, I said coldly. He sat. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed, studying the man who'd married my daughter with the sole intention of robbing me. How long were you planning this? I asked. Since before you even met Emily? Trevor's mouth opened and closed. Finally, he whispered, I'm sorry. Sorry you got caught. I corrected. Not sorry you did it. You stole over $1 million from me. You cheated on my daughter. You lied to my granddaughter. And you were planning to disappear with today's score, weren't you? Trevor's silence confirmed it. There are 2 tickets to Costa Rica in your car, Detective Hughes added, consulting his notes. 1 for you, 1 for Vanessa Clark. Leaving tomorrow morning. Non-extradition country. Smart plan. Except we found them. Trevor's face crumbled. He buried his face in his hands. I never meant to hurt Emily. Yes, you did, I said. You targeted her specifically. You researched me, found out I had a daughter, engineered a meeting, and played the long game. You're a predator, Trevor. And now you're caught. I stood up to leave. I hope prison teaches you something. Because you just destroyed your own life for money you'll never get to spend. As I walked out, Trevor called after me. Please don't tell Emily like this. Please. I didn't respond. The hardest thing I've ever had to do was drive to Emily's house that night. Harder than building my business from nothing. Harder than losing Margaret. Harder than anything. Emily answered the door with Sophie on her hip. Daddy, what a nice surprise. Hey, pumpkin, I said, kissing Sophie's forehead. Is Trevor home? No. He texted that he's working late. Come in. Want some coffee? I sat at her kitchen table while Emily made coffee, chattering about Sophie's day at preschool. My heart was breaking watching her, knowing what I was about to destroy. Emily, sweetheart, sit down. I need to tell you something. Something in my tone made her freeze. What's wrong? Are you sick? No, baby. It's about Trevor. Over the next hour, I told her everything. I showed her documents, bank statements, photos of Trevor with Vanessa, the police report. I watched my daughter's face transform from confusion to disbelief to devastation. No, she kept saying. No, that's not possible. Trevor loves me. He wouldn't. Emily, I'm so sorry. I held her as she collapsed into sobs. Sophie started crying too, not understanding but feeling her mother's pain. Emily cried for hours. I stayed with her, holding her, letting her process the betrayal. Finally, exhausted, she whispered, How could I be so stupid? You're not stupid, I said firmly. He's a professional con artist. This is what he does. He fooled me too. But I married him. I had a child with him. How did I not see? Because he's good at lying, I interrupted. That's his skill. Deception. You loved him honestly. He manipulated that love. That's on him, not you. Sophie had fallen asleep on the couch. Emily stared at her daughter. What do I tell her? How do I explain that her daddy is a criminal? For now, you don't. She's 3. When she's older, we'll find the right words. Emily looked at me with red, swollen eyes. I'm so sorry, Daddy. Sorry he stole from you. Sorry I brought him into our family. Stop, I said. None of this is your fault. Trevor is responsible for his choices. Only him. We talked until dawn. Emily asked questions I sometimes couldn't answer. Did he ever love me? I didn't know. Probably not. But I couldn't say that to my heartbroken daughter. What matters now is moving forward. I told her. You and Sophie will get through this. Trevor's arrest made the news. Local VP arrested for $1.2 million embezzlement scheme. The story spread quickly through our industry and community. My phone exploded with calls. Colleagues expressing shock. Clients worried about Patterson Construction stability. Competitors probably enjoy my misfortune. I release a statement through Marcus. Patterson Construction has been the victim of internal fraud by a former employee. All stolen funds have been recovered through insurance and legal action. Our company remains financially stable and committed to our clients. That last part about recovered funds was partially true. We had insurance that would cover some losses. The police had frozen Trevor's accounts, but recovering everything would take time. The real damage was reputational. People whispered, "How did Robert Patterson not notice his own son-in-law stealing millions?" It stung, because I asked myself the same question. Trevor's lawyer tried negotiating a plea deal. Marcus shut it down. "Robert wants a trial," he told him. "He wants everything public. Every detail of what Trevor did exposed in court. I wanted Trevor to face full consequences. No plea deal, no reduced sentence. Full justice." The prosecution was eager to go to trial, too. They wanted to use Trevor's case to highlight sophisticated white-collar crime. Detective Hughes thought Trevor would eventually plead guilty to avoid the publicity, but I hoped he wouldn't. I wanted him in court. Vanessa Clark, Trevor's mistress, reached out through a lawyer. She claimed she didn't know the money Trevor spent on her was stolen. Maybe that was true. Maybe not. She wasn't charged with any crimes. But her name was all over the news. Her reputation was destroyed, too. Part of me felt bad for her. But mostly I didn't. She'd been sleeping with a married man who had a baby at home. She'd been complicit in that betrayal, even if she hadn't known about the theft. Emily filed for divorce immediately. Trevor's lawyer tried fighting it, claiming Emily should wait until after the criminal trial. Marcus laughed in their faces. "Your client is a con artist who stole from his wife's father and cheated on her. The divorce is happening. Now." Trevor was denied bail. The judge considered him a flight risk given the Costa Rica tickets and his history of identity fraud. He'd sit in county jail until trial. Good. Let him rot there. Let him experience a tiny fraction of the pain he'd caused. Emily moved back home with me temporarily. My house was big and empty since Margaret died. Having Emily and Sophie there brought life back to it. Sophie asked about Trevor constantly. "Where's Daddy?" Emily told her, "Daddy is away for work, sweetie." Not the whole truth, but age-appropriate. I watched Sophie play in my backyard and felt rage burn anew. Trevor had done this to an innocent child. 3 weeks after Trevor's arrest, his mother contacted me. Helen Hoffman was 71, a widow living in Ohio. I almost didn't take the call. "Mr. Patterson," she began, voice shaking, "I'm so sorry for what my son did. I had no idea. I raised him better than this." "Did you?" I asked coldly, because this isn't his first con. He changed his name to escape his past. She was crying now. I know about Nevada. I thought he'd changed. I thought marrying Emily and settling down had fixed him. I was wrong." I softened slightly. "You're not responsible for your adult son's choices." "I know, but I'm still his mother. And I'm horrified." She paused. "I'm calling because I want you to know I'm testifying for the prosecution, if it goes to trial. I have documents from Trevor's past. Things that show a pattern of behavior. I won't protect him anymore." That surprised me. "You testify against your own son?" "He needs to face consequences," Helen said firmly. "He's needed to for years. Maybe if someone had stopped him in Nevada, he wouldn't have hurt your family. I won't let him escape again." I respected that. It took courage to hold your own child accountable. "Thank you, Mrs. Hoffman. Call me Helen. And Mr. Patterson, please take care of Emily and that beautiful baby. They deserve better than Trevor." As weeks passed, Trevor's defense fell apart. His lawyer tried, claiming I'd entrapped him with the fake municipal contract. The judge dismissed that argument. The entrapment only exposed crimes already in progress. They tried, claiming Trevor had a gambling addiction and was responsible for his actions. Prosecutors destroyed that defense by showing Trevor's meticulous planning and the fact that he'd spent stolen money on his mistress and luxury items, not gambling. They tried, claiming he'd planned to pay everything back. That fell apart when police found his Costa Rica tickets and the offshore account where he'd been planning to hide money. Every defense crumbled under scrutiny. Trevor's lawyer finally advised him to plead guilty in exchange for a reduced sentence. Trevor refused, convinced he could somehow win at trial. His arrogance would be his downfall. The trial was scheduled for November, for months after his arrest. Those months were healing time for Emily. She went to therapy, started processing her trauma, slowly rebuilt her self-esteem. "I feel so ashamed," she told me one evening. Like everyone's judging me for being fooled. Anyone who judges you isn't worth your concern, I said. You were victimized by an expert manipulator. There's no shame in that. Sophie adjusted surprisingly well. At 3, she had limited understanding of the situation. Emily told her, Daddy made bad choices and has to go away for a while. Simple, honest enough. The trial began on a cold November morning. The courtroom was packed with journalists, colleagues, and curious onlookers. Emily came, despite her lawyer advising against it. I need to see this, she said. I need to watch him answer for what he did. Trevor looked terrible. For months in county jail had aged him. The smooth, confident con artist was gone, replaced by a haggard man in an ill-fitting suit. He looked at Emily as we entered. She looked right through him like he was invisible. That probably hurt him more than anything I could do. The prosecution's case was devastating. They showed the fake invoices, the shell companies, the timeline of theft. They brought in Donald, the forensic accountant, who explained Trevor's sophisticated scheme in detail the jury could understand. They brought in my testimony. I explained how I trusted Trevor, given him opportunity, treated him like a son. The jury could see my pain and anger. Mr. Patterson, the prosecutor asked, do you believe Trevor Walsh targeted your daughter specifically to gain access to your company? Yes, I said, looking directly at Trevor. I believe he researched me, identified Emily as an access point, and systematically planned this con from the beginning. Nothing about his relationship with my daughter was genuine. Emily testified next. That was the hardest part to watch. My strong daughter, reduced to tears on the stand, describing how Trevor had courted her, proposed, married her, all while planning to rob her father. Did you have any suspicions? The defense attorney asked, trying to imply she should have known. No, Emily said clearly. I loved him. I trusted him. He was the father of my child. Why would I suspect the person who promised to love me forever was actually a con artist? The defense had no good response to that. Trevor's lawyer tried portraying him as someone who'd made mistakes under financial pressure. They brought character witnesses who said Trevor was a good person who'd lost his way. The prosecution demolished that narrative with Helen Hoffman's testimony. Trevor's own mother described his pattern of fraud, his Nevada scam, his history of targeting vulnerable people. My son is not a good person who made mistakes, Helen said, voice breaking. He's a predator who uses people. I love him, but I won't lie for him anymore. Trevor stared at his mother with betrayal in his eyes. But Helen didn't look away. She'd chosen accountability over blind loyalty. The prosecution rested after a week of testimony. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for only 3 hours. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor. The courtroom held its breath. I held Emily's hand. She was shaking. On the count of wire fraud, how do you find a defendant? Guilty. On the count of embezzlement? Guilty. On the count of identity fraud? Guilty. Guilty on all 17 counts. Trevor's face drained of color. His lawyer patted his shoulder, but there was nothing left to say. The evidence had been too strong. The jury had seen through every lie. The judge set sentencing for 2 weeks later. Trevor was remanded into custody immediately. As officers led him away, he looked at Emily one last time. She turned her head. He was dead to her now. Good. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. Marcus issued a brief statement. Justice has been served. The Patterson family appreciates the jury's diligent consideration of the evidence. We ask for privacy as we continue healing from this betrayal. Emily and I drove home in silence. Finally, she said, "It's really over. The criminal case is, I confirmed, but we still have to rebuild." She nodded. I know, but at least now I can start moving forward for real. That night, we had dinner as a family, me, Emily, and Sophie. Simple pasta. Nothing fancy, but it felt peaceful, like we'd turned a corner. Sentencing day arrived. The courtroom was less crowded this time. Mostly just our family, Trevor's mother, and a few journalists. The judge reviewed Trevor's crimes methodically. "Mr. Hoffman, You engaged in a systematic, premeditated fraud spanning 3 years. You betrayed the trust of your employer, your wife, and your family. You showed no remorse until you were caught, and even then, only concern for yourself. Trevor's lawyer made a plea for leniency. Your Honor, my client has no prior criminal convictions. He has a young daughter who needs him. His daughter needs a father who's honest and present. The judge interrupted. Mr. Hoffman chose to steal instead of work, chose to lie instead of being truthful. He made those choices knowing he had a child at home. The judge paused and pronounced sentence, 12 years in federal prison, full restitution of all stolen funds, plus penalties and interest, permanent ban from working in any financial or fiduciary capacity, 5 years supervised probation after release, 12 years. Trevor would be 47 when he got out. Sophie would be 15. He'd miss her entire childhood. His own choices had stolen that from him. No one else's. Trevor was led away. He didn't look back this time. Maybe he'd finally accepted that he destroyed everything himself. Outside, Helen approached us. Emily, dear, I'm so very sorry for everything my son put you through. Emily surprised me by hugging Helen. Thank you for telling the truth. I know that wasn't easy. Helen wiped tears. Trevor is my son and I love him, but what he did was evil. I couldn't protect him from consequences anymore. She looked at me. Mr. Patterson, I've set up a trust fund for Sophie. Not much. Just $20,000 for her education. It's the least I can do. I was moved by the gesture. That's incredibly kind, Helen. Thank you. She's my granddaughter, Helen said simply. She's innocent in all this. She deserves a good life. We parted ways with Helen promising to send Sophie birthday cards and maintain a relationship if Emily allowed it. Emily agreed. You're not responsible for Trevor's choices, she told Helen. Sophie should know her grandmother. Over the following months, we rebuilt. Insurance covered most of the stolen money. Patterson Construction's reputation recovered. Clients appreciated my transparency about what happened. I promoted Janet to CFO and implemented new financial controls, so this could never happen again. Multiple approval signatures required for large payments, regular audits, clear oversight. Emily went back to school to finish her nursing degree, something she'd paused when Sophie was born. I need my own career, she explained. My own identity separate from Trevor or anyone else. I supported her completely, watching Sophie while Emily attended classes. A year after Trevor's conviction, Emily met someone new. His name was David Chun, a pediatric nurse at the hospital where Emily did her clinicals. He was kind, patient, and most importantly, genuine. I was cautious at first. Emily, take your time. Make sure you really know someone before. Daddy, I know, she interrupted gently. I'm being careful. I'm in therapy. I'm not rushing anything. But David is different. He's real. I met David several times before Emily let him meet Sophie. I grilled him with questions, probably making him uncomfortable. But David handled it with grace. Mr. Patterson, I understand your concerns. Emily's told me everything about Trevor. I respect that you're protective. All I can do is show you through my actions that I'm not that guy. He did show us. Through consistency, through honesty, through patience. Slowly, Emily learned to trust again. Sophie warmed to David too, though Emily was careful not to position him as a replacement father. David is Mommy's friend, Emily told Sophie. Your daddy is in a place where he made mistakes. But David cares about us. Simple, age-appropriate, honest. By the time Sophie turned 5, David and Emily were talking about marriage. They included Sophie in discussions. How would you feel if David became part of our family? Sophie thought about it seriously. Would he be nice to me? Always, Emily promised. Okay then, Sophie decided. Children are resilient. Today, I'm 64 years old. 2 years have passed since Trevor's conviction. Emily and David got married last spring in a small ceremony. Sophie was a flower girl, beaming with joy. Trevor is serving year 3 of his 12-year sentence. I heard through Helen that he's finally in therapy, actually dealing with his issues. Maybe prison will reform him. Maybe it won't. That's not my concern anymore. Patterson Construction is thriving. We just landed our biggest contract ever. Ironically, a real municipal project worth $3 million. Emily jokes that Trevor would be jealous. Sophie just started first grade. She's smart, funny, and remarkably well-adjusted considering everything. She rarely asks about Trevor anymore. David's a father figure in her life now, and he's wonderful with her. Emily finished nursing school and works part-time at the Children's Hospital. She's found her purpose helping sick kids. Trevor tried to take everything from me, she said recently, but he failed. I'm stronger now than I ever was with him. That's true. She's rebuilt herself into someone confident and independent. I'm incredibly proud of her. As for me, I learned hard lessons about trust and vigilance. I'll never be as naive again, but I also won't let Trevor's betrayal make me bitter or cynical. He tried to destroy my family and steal my life's work. Instead, he destroyed only himself. We survived. We healed. We moved forward. Trevor thought he was a smart one, the con artist who pulled off the perfect scam. But in the end, he lost everything while we gained strength, resilience, and appreciation for genuine relationships. I made sure he paid for what he did, not just through legal consequences, but by building a life so full and successful that his theft became just a footnote in our story. He's in a cell. We're free and thriving. That's the best revenge. Living well while your enemy rots in the consequences of their own choices. If this story resonated with you, please hit subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your experiences. Remember, betrayal reveals character, both theirs and yours. Choose to be better than those who hurt you. Thanks for reading, and never let someone else's deception define your future.